All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Maddie here from Chilled TCG. Today, we're going to be interviewing Canaan Mellard, the winner of our Chill Series number 6 ptcgo tournament. We're going to be interviewing him a little bit, asking him about his deck list that he used to win the tournament. And then afterwards, we're going to be playing some games. He was a really great guy. I had a really great time talking with him, and I hope you enjoy the video. Are you looking for great deals on ptcgo codes? Check out our sponsor, Guardian Gaming TCGs. Use our promo code CHILLTCG for 10% off your entire order. Head on over to guardiangamingtcgs.com. All right, let's get right into it. Canaan, what's going on, man?
Going well, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. So, congratulations on winning Chill Series number 6, of course. It was a lot of great games that we got to watch you play in, and, how'd you feel about the whole tournament?
I felt really good. I mean, I guess going into the tournament, I didn't really have high expectations. I kind of was tweaking around with the list like an hour before the tournament. I was kind of like going back and forth, like, oh, should I just play ADP? Like, I don't know, it's safe, but I wanted something that, I would have had fun with, I guess. And so, I mean, tournaments ran super smooth. I had a lot of good opponents, a lot of cool games, and yeah, ended up taking it down.
Yeah, awesome, man. And I think you were telling me this was your first tournament of the Chill Series that you played in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've actually only played in 2 online tournaments so far. I'm hoping to up that count now. I've gotten a little more free time, so I'm trying to play more Pokemon, of course. I played in the Pokégear tournament once, and I got second place in that. So.
Oh, hell yeah. So, I mean,
yeah.
two tournaments, 2 really great results, man. That's
Yeah.
super cool, yeah, for sure. Were you playing Eternatus in the Pokédex?
I was actually playing Senta Scorch.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I mean, is this do you like what deck do you think you play the most of? Do you think this Eternatus deck is like a deck that you typically play a lot of, or do you play other decks more?
I would say that I've been playing Eternatus a lot more on like the ladder and kind of like testing the deck more. I feel like I guess in this format, I've been testing a lot of Blacephalon
Mm-hmm.
as well as Eternatus, but I feel like Eternatus has just always been like better results, so I decided to play it.
Right, and you mentioned thinking about playing ADP. This was your first tournament, but I don't know if you've checked it out, but so far we've run 6 tournaments this season of the Chill Series, and ADP has yet to win at all in any of the tournaments. It's gotten plenty of top 4, top 8 finishes, but never first place finishes, which is interesting to me at least. But yeah, I mean, I just thought that was kind of interesting. So definitely a good choice for you to play Eternatus, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so, just a couple more questions before we get into the deck here. So, you said that this was only your second online tournament that you've participated in. Have you ever played in any IRL tournaments? Any like sort of, sanctioned Pokemon tournaments before?
Yeah, I've actually, I mean, I guess playing on more of a competitive level for the past like 3-ish years, I would say. I feel like I never really, I guess, tested as much as I'd like to. I've been to like, a good amount of regionals. I'm based out of California, so
Nice.
like LA area, and so I've been kind of playing competitively there, and I've gotten like a couple like League Cup or like top 8s, top 4s, stuff like that. But nothing too serious. And at regionals, I don't know how I always usually get top 128. I've never gotten lower or higher, like top 64, but I've always gotten top 128 every time I go to a regional. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's cool, man. It's definitely
yeah.
very yeah. I mean, that's more than I've done. So, but yeah, man. So I know in the tournament, I at least in the finals, I believe your top 4 match and your grand finals match were both against Pika Hammers. So I just want to talk a little bit about that matchup. Of course, you came up on top both of those times, but do you think that this deck list specifically does well against Pikarom, or do you think that typically that's a tough matchup for you?
I think really playing against any hammers deck in general, I feel like a lot of decks right now have just been throwing in hammers and being like, all right, it's a better deck. But personally, I feel like a lot of times Pikarom relies on hitting at least 1 or 2 hammer's heads during the game, and if they can't do that, they usually lose because their damage output is not as great.
Right.
And so usually I feel like if they miss that early hammerheads, it's pretty much like favorable for me as soon as I knock out that Pikarom with Eternatus VMAX.
Right.
And of course, Power Accelerator is really good on that. If I go second, to guaranteeing I can probably attack on my second turn. But I
Right.
wouldn't necessarily say that, it's like the best matchup because hammers usually can really have a detriment to a deck like this that really has to have that double energy attach in each different turn.
Right. And since you're attaching manually, getting hit with those hammers early on can definitely be tough for sure. So I don't know if you remember though, what other decks did you run into in bracket, or what were some decks that you ended up playing a lot of in in the Swiss rounds?
So I'm trying to think here. I played Maluk Metal in one of my rounds, and I thought that matchup was very interesting. Just because I actually had to use Crobat's attack, Venomous Fang, and it worked really well, and I didn't really think about it until like I prized my Hoopa, and I was like, oh great, he has Zamazenta out. Like I'm not really sure what I can do because a turn is only doing like 30 damage, and then I looked at looked at my board, and I was like, oh, this does 70 damage plus poison. This actually works really well, and I can 2-shot a Zamazenta with this if I had 2 Toxicroak out. So, and
Right.
I don't think he was expecting that either. As soon as I attached the Crobat, I don't think he was even trying to target it. He was just like, oh, I'm just going to hit into his VMAX. Like, whatever.
Right. Exactly.
But,
And you didn't expect.
yeah, I found a way.
It.
Yeah, he didn't expect that, I guess, the attack. I didn't really even look at it until that came.
Yeah.
And let's see here. I played against, I believe, 2 Scorch. One of them, he just misplayed super hard and just kind of just lost the game. But I feel like I have a decent matchup against other Eternatus and other Scorch just because I can one-shot with the poison damage.
Right.
Because a lot of the time when you're playing that kind of matchup, it's kind of like a 2-shot game, like who hits into the big VMAX first, and then you hit with a 1-prizer, where it's like I just go poison, 2 Toxicroak knocks out the Scorch VMAX, which I did I believe my 3rd round.
Right.
And I played against, my only loss, I believe, was against an ADP that ran hammers, and he hit a double hammerheads on one turn that really hurt.
For sure.
And then, yeah, it was just kind of like I couldn't attack the next turn because of that. But every other game was pretty smooth. I'm trying to think what else I played against. Yeah, no, I just ran Luke Metal, Scorch, ADP, and
there were 22 ADPs in the tournament, so I'm sure you ran into a couple throughout your run.
I believe the only one I ran into actually was the loss that I had in Swiss.
Very interesting.
I played against a lot of different decks. Yeah, it was very interesting. I think I played against a lot of different decks throughout the entire tournament, but I wasn't expecting too much, so I didn't really keep track of what I was doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
To your point, though, I mean, this deck is very interesting. We'll get into it later when we go through it. But you were mentioning the poison damage with the Toxicroak, and I was really kind of surprised that you were running like a 4-3 lineup between the Croagunk and the Toxicroak. But it does make sense when I actually watched it in practice, because having at least 2 of those Toxicroak on the bench is a really big advantage, because it brings the poison damage up between turns to 50 in between turns. And like you were saying, right, Eternatus hits for 270, but plus 50, that's 320, which is going to be enough to knock out things like Scorch and some of those other VMAXs. So that number is really important. And also, like you were saying, that the Crobat, it's not really necessarily used as an attacker, but in this deck, it does poison damage, right? So in any Eternatus deck is going to be running Crobat, but since it does poison damage with its attack, it kind of fits really well into this poison variant for Eternatus. So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool. Bit of a surprise that you're only running 1 Hoopa, but I can't put any judgments forth. It worked out well for you, so.
Yeah, definitely
cool. No, I mean, that's awesome, man. I really enjoyed you playing in the tournament. I enjoyed watching all your games. How did you feel about playing on stream? Were you Was it a little bit nerve-wracking at all? I mean,
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like um, I remember specifically the play that I could have knocked out a Pikarom with a boss in my hand, and because I had a Hoopa,
right.
and for some reason I was just like I was just like nervous, and I was like, oh, okay, to knock out that Pikarom, I need a full bench, and then I realized I only needed 7 bench, and then I kind of like just knocked out the active, and I was like, oh wait, what am I doing? But like I think the more I played on in like with the stream, the more I like felt comfortable and stuff like that. But I kind of, in the back of my head was just like, oh my god, if I misplay, people are just gonna flame me in the chat or
Sure.
something like that.
I know, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, it can definitely be. I mean, it's not like we have any crazy numbers in chat if it's like 20, 30 people, but just sort of the idea of it, it's definitely a little bit hard to play with that pressure when you know. But, that being said, your championship match, that grand finals match for Chill Series number 6, the video recording of it is going to be posted to the YouTube tonight. So,
Oh,
it might be cool to have your, be able to look back at your game there.
yeah, definitely. It's good to like look at see how I sequenced and how I, play the game out and what decisions I could have made.
For sure, man. Well, I mean, I guess just one last question. Or I guess I'll have a couple more, but do you think that this poison variant for Eternatus is better than just sort of the straight variant when people run with Zigzagoon?
I've been going back and forth about it. I feel like, honestly, it's really hard to say just because of the fact that I feel like this list or the poison variant I would say is a little less consistent than that Zigzagoon. I just think that people who like running scoop up net with the Zigzagoon is not really necessary. I think you'd rather run more consistency because a lot of the times, um, poison wasn't even really a factor in my games. All I had to do was just hit hard with Eternatus. Like I just have to get all the Pokemon out, where it didn't really matter what it was.
Right, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, it might not be as consistent in terms of like filling out your bench and sort of getting that consistent 270 off with Eternatus. But one thing that this poison variant definitely has an advantage of is like we said, hitting for that big damage, right? So if you're able to hit over 300 or even up to 320, a lot of times it's really good, right? Because you're getting those one shots on those ADPs. Even if they have like a big charm on it, you can still get the knockout. Same with like Mew 3, GX Tag Team, and then Send a Scorch, or even Inteleon, right? So you have I think it adds a big advantage being able to hit those really high numbers, with the poison in the same turn. And I think that even though you sacrifice a little bit of that consistency in terms of powering up your bench, I think it comes up on top in for the most part, for sure.
I would say that like just the fact that Slowbro, even if you get that started and that turn 1 poison or in turns where you're just like attaching and you just even do like the 10 poison damage, because a lot of times when people get poisoned and I don't have any Toxicroak out, they don't try to retreat, and that 30 damage actually matters a lot of the time that I put on like some sort of Pokemon, because that's one less bench Pokemon I need, or that gets me a one less Toxicroak that I need to knock out that big Pokemon if they decide to evolve it.
Right, for sure. Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. So, last question. Do you think that maybe you'll play in any of the Chill Series events in the future? Now, the Invitational tournament is going to be at the end of the season. It's going to have a nice prize pool. We're going to be inviting 32 of the top players from throughout the season, playing in just sort of one big tournament to come up with a grand champion, right, for the entirety of season 1. And since you won the Chill Series 6, you pretty much all are like automatically qualify for the Invitational in terms of points. So, do you think that maybe you'll play in another event in the future, or are you thinking of playing in the Invitational?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's an awesome idea, and I love playing in these online tournaments because it just helps me get better. Even if I don't do well in them, I always can learn from what how I misplayed or anything like that. But just playing as much, and I like playing throughout the season because I know decks do change and like kind of evolve in a sense.
Right.
Because there's a lot of different like variants, like um, of a lot of different decks. Like I guess this poison list, wasn't as like popular, and I tweaked it and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, even now, I don't think that many people really think of the Poison Eternatus variant. When they think of Eternatus, they mainly probably just think of like the Zigzagoon and just the basic list. And this list certainly wasn't really being played, when Darkness Ablaze first came out. So it's really cool to see, a new variant of Eternatus come out and also, do really well. So
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
sure, man, for sure. All right, well, let's just go over the deck list just a little bit before we get into some games here. So, just looking at the Pokemon, we have 4 Croagunk and 3 Toxicroak. Like we said earlier, the Croagunk and the Toxicroaks were really important. You wanted to think at least 2 on your bench. 1 was okay, but when you had 2 on your bench, that brought you up to 50 poison damage. And, on top of that 270 with Eternatus was really, it made it easier for you to get those big knockouts, right? So I think it's, at first glance, it's a little bit crazy that you're running a 4-3 lineup of those two, but at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, 4 Crobats. You're never going to find an Eternatus list without 4 Crobats. And like we said, too, that poison attack, you said could be really useful in some matchups. So, just another opportunity to get poison as well as consistently draw extra cards every turn. And then, of course, I think, what was it, a 4-3 lineup of Eternatus, which is actually pretty interesting. Was that sort of an idea on your part, or did you sort of just kind of, well, you have 4 there, so yeah, I guess, it was just a decision on your part to only run 3?
Yeah, it's just I think that with this list, in a sense, the when you're playing the Zigzagoon list, you're only playing the 4 goon and then like your like 1 prizers, where you're playing a stage 1 line, so that's like some extra cards. So I feel like I had to cut some things for more consistency, or just being able to get that like those ball engine going, and 4/4 supporter line. Just it seemed like I only really needed 1 like Eternatus usually doesn't get 1 shot, so it's not like I'm like really digging for Eternatus VMAX all the time. And I mean, if 1 is prize, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I always felt like I never was like stressed on finding the VMAX.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%, man. And I mean, if you think about sort of what your typical bench ideally will look like in every game, like if you have 8 slots on your bench, plus 1 active, right? You're gonna probably want like 2 of those Toxicroak on your bench. You're gonna want at least 1 Slowbro and at least 1 Hoopa, so that's already up to 4 there. And then of course, throughout the game, you're gonna want to be playing those Crobats. So depending on how long the game goes, you might be playing 3 or 4 Crobats, so that's 7 or 8. And then you need those other 2 slots for those Eternatus, which probably is only going to be 1 or 2, right, throughout the game. So it makes a lot of sense. I think you don't really need 4. And I think in terms of consistency, like you have so much other Pokemon search in this deck, running 3 is perfectly fine because, even if 1 is prized or 2 is prized, you're still going to have 1 or 2, left to play. So I think the 4-3 lineup makes a lot of sense, honestly. And then, of course, 2 Galarian Slowbro V. This is a card that you definitely want in the deck, so running 2 makes sense for consistency reasons. Also, if 1 does get sniped by like a Zacian or something like that, you're going to want a second one to consistently keep doing that poison damage, later on in the game. So definitely really cool. This card is just, honestly, it's interesting because this isn't a card that got a lot of hype. No one really cared too much about it when it came out. People were like, oh, it's cool. It might be like, cool to run with Toxicroak or whatnot, but it's doing massive amounts of work in this Eternatus list. People run it, for that rapid fire poison where you just sort of are able to poison on command with the ability and then retreat out for free with Dark City. But did you ever end up using that triple shot attack or tripping shot?
Oh yeah, no, 3 turns was just too much of a time. Like, I feel like the only matchup you could possibly do it in is like Luke Metal, I guess, if they are kind of like off to a slower start and they start like lone, what's it called, like Zamazenta, and you can just like power accelerator to it, and then have it ready in like 2 turns.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's kind of
Yeah, the 3 energy is kind of steep, especially in this deck where you're really only manually attaching. Plus, you're going to be planning to set up the Eternatus anyway. But I was just curious. Thought I might ask.
Yeah, I did think about it. I really did. I was like, man, I don't know, like, if this tech would be viable in the slightest. I mean, it's of course 3 energy with all manual attachments, like you said, is very hard. But I did think about it once, but I was like, no, that's a bad idea.
It's funny. And then yeah, just one Hoopa. Most lists are running like 2 or 3 Hoopas. There's also that Hoopa, which I believe is from is it like Unbroken Bonds or Unified Minds, whatever that other Hoopa is. Yeah. Did you think about running that at all, or did you feel like this one was probably more consistent in terms of just that 90 damage every turn?
I just thought that, I mean, I think originally in the list that I had before, I was running 2 of these. It just syncs really well with Dark City and Force Switch. Like, that is like my main game plan. Of course, it has to go from bench to active.
Right.
So I feel like it works really well with these high counts of these cards. Like, I can consistently do that 90 damage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no.
For sure. I mean, to me personally, if I were to take this deck list and run it, I might take out that 4th Croagunk and then put in a 2nd Hoopa. But, at the same time, I don't know if that's smart, right? Because I think, getting the consistent Toxicroaks out is probably more important than having a consistent Hoopa out the bench. So I think that it's smart, the lineup of Pokemon that you're running in this deck. And then, of course, Pokemon Search, always super important with the 4 Great Balls, 4 Quick Balls, and 3 Pokecoms. Did you find that was enough? I think that's typically what people are running in this deck, so.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely enough. It's weird because, I mean, like, Pokecom only, like, really works when you have another Pokemon in hand and you're trying to, like, usually bench a bunch of Pokemon. So I felt like the 3 count was good on that because I know people are like, oh, you can go max consistency and go 4, but I feel like the only reason I'm using this Pokecom is to find Toxicroak or Eternatus VMAX a lot of the time.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, Great Ball is one of those cards that people don't really give a lot of shine, but in decks like this, like you're running 21 Pokemon, so statistically, whenever you play a Great Ball, you should be finding at least 1 or 2 Pokemon every time you play a Great Ball. So it does make a lot of sense to be running it, honestly. Plus, with the total of 6 like stage 1 Pokemon between Eternatus VMAX and Toxicroak there, you have a good chance of just Great Balling into one of those Pokemon, which is also really good, on top of the Pokecoms that you could also use to find them too, which I think just makes a lot of sense, yeah, for sure. So 2 Pokégear and 2 Reset Stamps, actually, which is very interesting. 2 cards I don't really see a lot in Eternatus, but, I suppose, you're only running 8 supporters between the 4/4 lineup of Boss's Orders and Research. So, those are cards that you're definitely going to want consistently throughout the game, so I think it does make sense to run the 2 Pokégear there. But did you end up using Stamp a lot? Did that ever come in clutch for you?
I would say that Stamp is definitely one of the best additions I had in the deck. I feel like my original list had a 4/4/4 Research Marnie Boss. And so I cut the 2 or 4 Marnies for a 2 gear, 2 stamp, just because I realized for Eternatus, the beginning of the game is very, very important to get like established.
Exactly.
And I never want a Marnie on turn 1, and I feel like it's always awful to be like, okay, I kind of like, if I've Crobatted already and I have some Marnie, like I never can really get there, But if I have Research or Gear, or I can Crobat into a Research, I always feel a lot better about like my overall game.
Right.
And of course the Gear is just for reach. Reset Stamp did really well in the finals.
It did, yeah.
Against that Pikarom, the Reset Stamp to 3 when he had like 10 cards in his hand.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much almost that can really change the difference, right? Late in the game, whether it's a win or a loss. Stamp right now, I think Stamp and Boss's Orders are like 2 of the most clutch cards late in the game to draw into. So, I think it's smart for every deck to run those cards.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also like if you do the math, like having 4 Marnies isn't actually as consistent as running 2 Pokegears in terms of being able to find a supporter. Because since with Pokégear, I believe you search like the top 7 cards of your deck, or is it 5? Is it 7?
It's 7, yeah.
It's 7, right? So that means you're technically searching through 14 cards in your deck by playing the 2 Pokégear. Whereas with Marnie, that just increases your chances, by 4, right? So it makes more sense to run Pokégear if you want to consistently have that supporter, at any point in the game. So I think that's definitely really smart. Just moving on though. So I mean, since this is a poison variant, the switching is very important, right? I mean, the with the Slowbro, with the Hoopa, and then also just being able to switch into the Eternatus when you want to attack. The 4 lineup of Switch and 3 Dark City just I think is really important with this deck. It also makes a lot of sense. Did you ever find, of course also you're running 2 Hiding Energy. So did you ever think that you might want to run an extra Dark City or more Hiding Energies, or did you feel like you always had switching capabilities whenever you were playing this deck?
I feel like I always was hitting the switch whenever I needed it. I mean, I feel like the only time I'd, I guess, struggle in a sense was maybe whenever people got early swell. But other than that, that was not really an issue of having the 3 Dark City. I usually see a lot of cards on my first 2 turns, and of course the high counts I'll usually see both of these. And of course
Right.
Switch, I guess in a sense, since it's a higher count, I don't need it. What's it called? I don't need to hold it. Where Dark City, I can play immediately, and usually it doesn't get bumped. So
For sure. This deck is so funny to me because there's a few cards that just like in general would never ever see play other than in this deck. Like Dark City wasn't a great card until people were running it in this list. Galarian Slowbro, just not a card that anyone would play other than in this list really. And even like Toxicroak, these are all just cards that on their own don't seem great, but then all of a sudden you think about it and then you put them into a list like this and it just it just ends up being great.
yeah, it just works.
It's super funny. So for energy, we're running 9 in total. Got 2 capture, 2 hiding, and then 5 5 basic dark energy. So my question with the energy count is, since you're just manually attaching most of the time throughout the game, with an exception being the power accelerator on Eternatus V, did you think that maybe going with more hiding darkness energies would be smart, or did you find that always needing that basic dark energy in your hand for the power accelerator, was more important to run 5 of the basics? Kind of what was your mentality for that energy lineup?
Yeah, I was kind of talking before the tournament, and I knew that hammers were kind of getting a bit bigger, and I was like, I'd rather have the out 2 power accelerator on that turn 2 against a lot of decks, rather than being able to retreat out of the Eternatus. Because usually a lot of times, all I needed, of course, is that Switch Dark City combo. And a lot of times if I had that hiding energy, I wouldn't, I feel like I wouldn't retreat the Eternatus with that hiding energy on it. I feel like I've never really done that play, even though it seems pretty obvious you can just retreat into Slowbro and then switch and then just kind of do your thing, like the one hit knockout or whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think power accelerator is definitely a lot more clutch than being able to retreat the Eternatus VMAX with this energy.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely a busted deck list. I think that this, in my opinion, I think that this is the better Eternatus list, and I think that this is the best variant for Eternatus. So I think people are going to be really interested in this specifically. They're going to have a lot of kind of questions about, how good is this exactly? But I think, in your case, winning this tournament, which had 80 plus people in it, going against all sorts of great decks like Pikarom and ADP, Luke Metal, and a lot of great players as well. I think it says a lot, not only just about, you as a player, but about how well this deck list can do in a tournament setting. So, definitely very interesting. But, congratulations, man. That's going to wrap it up for the interview. So, if you're down, we can play a couple games, give people some gameplay footage, of some matchups that maybe they didn't get a chance to see in the tournament. It's totally up to you. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool, man. Well, that's going to wrap it up. So, if you want to shout out anything, any kind of profiles, any channels of yours, any people, just, go ahead and do it.
Yep. I mean, I guess finally revived my Twitter at Ace Canaan. I guess I'll be posting more about my deck list there. I guess I'll shout out Kenny Britton also for this stamp Pokégear change. He really helped me talk about the deck, and he didn't really know much about it, but I feel like that change was really clutch for me in the tournament. So
Sweet, awesome, super cool. All
thank
right,
you.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's get into some games, man.
Good.
All right, okay, now let's get right into it, man. I'm gonna be playing a an ADP list. It's hammers, but also kind of like ADP box, so it's got all those all those tech attackers in there. But we're gonna see how it does against your Eternatus list, since we didn't get a chance to actually watch you play any ADP on stream or anything like that. So I think this is a matchup that most people are probably interested in.
Yeah.
All right. So you chose to go first, which is interesting considering I'm running hammers, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Typically, most of the time, I'm not lucky enough to get like the turn one GX attack off going second, but we will see.
Yeah, I feel like I always like to go first against these like ADPs in general, just because of the fact that I don't like the they may be able to attach, and it's just they're guaranteed that GX on the next turn. Because sometimes if I can knock out this ADP or knock out a Pokemon for the GX, I can pretty much seal the game like that.
Right, that is pretty much game. Plus, you can get that poison off turn one because you don't have to attack, which brings ADP down to 270. So definitely smart. I am running Clay in this list though, which is interesting. I didn't think I was, but I guess I am. What are you gonna do? Maybe it'll work out for me. Okay, so I'm gonna see here if I can maybe get that turn. Yeah, get that turn one GX off. I think research is probably better than Clay here. Ooh, we get it. Very lucky on my part.
Oh. Speak of the devil, and they arrive.
Alright, let's see. The thing here is I might get knocked out next turn by you too, which is kind of scary. Thinking about it, if you can get that second energy on, evolve, and get your bench filled up, then you're once again just in a better spot than I am, even with that turn one GX. So we'll see.
I think I got it.
Uh-oh. Let's see. There's one, there's two, there's three. Oh, no.
I believe I got it just because of the poison damage.
Yeah, that's true, because I'll be down to 240 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's tough. That poison is deadly, man. And the thing is, it's not like I really had any choice either, because I needed to stay into ADP. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't just, not get the GX attack off.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see if we can scrum up something here. Hopefully you don't have boss, but that's a fat hand, so I'm pretty certain that you probably will. And there's the Toxicroak.
Don't have another energy.
It's lucky on my part. Oh man, it's always stressful. Always super stressful when you're in this matchup. A lot of damage.
Yep. What I assumed you had in hand.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
4 boss.
Technically, I should always have boss. If I don't have boss in this deck at any point in my hand, then I'm in not a good spot. But now I'm just 1 knockout away, but I am pretty much going to need a my Metal Saucer next turn. But I've already used Dedenne and Crobat. I'm not running a second Dedenne, which I should be. But
jeez, I guess I'm just dead drawing. I don't have anything in my hand. It's a big hand, but it's nothing.
Dang.
Let's see here. It seems really bad, but I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do, right? You got to thin out that deck.
With the 10 damage. There you go.
Boom. Crazy.
Alright. Way lucky.
I would have loved to hit that there. That would have been nice. But pretty unfortunate on your part, I think, this game. I also got real lucky, so.
Yeah, because you have a boss in your hand.
Oh, yeah. Of course. I mean, if you dead draw like that against an ADP, and then your opponent draws well, it's just a real tough situation for you.
I just didn't get any ball search or another research or another Crobat. I had I guess looked at my deck. I prized I think 1 quick ball. I think I prized 1 great ball or something like that. So I had 10 or 12 outs, but unfortunate.
A little bit. I mean, we can go again, though. Might as well do another
one.
Yeah,
no, of course.
All right, let's do it. Let's see, I'll try a different ADP list. This time I'll run catchers. A list that a lot of people run. A list that's really good, but maybe not as tailored well for the Eternatus matchup specifically. So, let's see how it goes. Starting with 80 people turns, or both games, which is good. Better luck than I typically have. Okay. All right. I see.
Sir.
I start the game with Swell too, which is actually really nice. I was hoping and praying that you might have a bat in hand or something. It's all good.
Like a very okay hand.
No turn one this game. All right, gonna opt to grab that Crobat. I like it. It's a good play.
Good, but also I need to see cards this turn.
All right, I'm not mad about that. Honestly.
You're like, oh, that was pretty good actually. Oof. All right. Baby.
10 damage. 10 damage is clutch, man.
Yeah.
Might make the difference.
I'm not sure about that one.
I think starting with Chaotic Swell for me was really lucky. I think it helped me out, definitely. All right, well, we see it. So we'll see the VMAX. Let's hope we don't get we don't see a full bench on your part here. Definitely could. There's one Great Ball. Uh-oh. Okay. We're fine with that. Ooh.
Oh no, I got it.
I'm not fine with that, though. Man, these ADPs, man, they do not survive against this Eternatus list at all.
Yeah, that was a good draws on my part.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's pretty consistent, right? Getting that turn 3, what am I trying to say? Getting that turn 3 attack off is actually like a really good, really consistent thing. I think I'm gonna try and utilize. This kind of sucks though.
Bench.
I'm gonna have to DNA out 2 research, which is not ideal, but I'm gonna need boss anyway, so. Mawile definitely can be pretty clutch in this matchup, though.
No, definitely.
I don't know how I'm going to pull this off next turn. I really don't know if I can. We'll see, though. We'll see. I mean, it's technically possible. But is it likely? I don't think so. I'm running a catchers list, but I haven't seen one Pokemon catcher yet in this deck, which is interesting.
Trying to hit my second stamp, but I missed it. So
That would have been clutch. Would have been a clutch stamp.
basically, as if can you charge up a Zacian
Right, that's the question
and have
here.
Boss in your hand at the same time?
Right. Already played Dedenne. See, this is why I only typically run one Dedenne in my lists, which I definitely should run more than one.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely love the 2, or I think in the catchers list I have, I play 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay. So that's probably gonna be the game. Oh man. This is getting scary. Just don't have boss or anything. Don't do it to me. I might have win condition in hand. I'll tell you what though, these ADP Eternatus games do not go very long. They're pretty short as far as games
Definitely.
go. Yeah. Oof. I don't like that research at all. You just need that double switch out. I think you still have one Dark City in deck. Oh, that stamp. Crushing stamp.
Because I don't have the Slowbro,
Right.
so I can't one-shot this.
I think that stamp won you the game. Because, well, in my last hand I had Switch, and then I also had I had Catcher, so
If Monkey Boy can get you there.
yeah, this is what it comes down to. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. Definitely sad. Well, I mean, again, like stamp is just super clutch, right? I mean, it's the difference sometimes, man. I think that it's always worth running stamp in your decks these days, at least. I think it's just so good. Oh, okay, I see how it is. All right, man.
Take the prize.
Super cool. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I think that matchup, is like you said earlier, it's all about that early game. I think as long as you're able to get that knockout on the ADP tag team before it gets the attack off, then you're just in a really great position because that forces me to not only have to set up that Zacian but also get the boss or get the switch at the same turn, which can be really difficult. So, yeah, man, definitely good games.
Yeah, because I think of course, the biggest thing is like, I feel against any ADPs. What if you're playing a deck at all? Of course, everyone knows, if you can knock out that ADP after, or if you cannot knock out that ADP after they GX, it's usually game. At that point, if ADP can attack, a lot of the times it's kind of like pretty tough for you to like get the wins in those situations, unless you can like put something up and the ADP doesn't knock something out. But a lot of times I've seen it's just like if ADP gets an attack off his like ultimate ray, it's kind of like difficult because then they have two things that can just one hit KO a lot of things on people's boards.
Exactly. Yeah, the thing is with ADP, like the whole dream when you're running that deck is to get the GX off and then also, boss into like a Crobat or a Dedenne next turn, and then finish it off with a KO with ADP while also accelerating those 3 energies. And if you get that off, it's pretty much a guaranteed win, unless somehow you get stamped right and then you just brick. But yeah, man, definitely. I mean, I think your list is really good. Personally, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? That you were able to go as far as you were. Obviously you played it really well, and I think the deck list was definitely just a really good pick for bracket and everything. So, good on you, man. Congratulations again for winning Chill Series number 6. Hopefully we see you again soon. in the future tournaments. But that's gonna wrap it up the video here. I think we got about 50 minutes of coverage here. So hopefully
That's
people,
perfect.
yeah, hopefully people enjoy. But that's
Yeah, no,
yeah.
yeah, definitely appreciate it, man. It was a really cool experience to have this video, play a couple games, explain what I did. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to Chill Series number 7. Maybe I can be that next double champ.
Hopefully, man.
Yeah.
We've yet to see it have a 2-time champ, which is also cool. We've had 6 tournaments with 6 different winners, which I think is cool for sure. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. I'll get to editing and hopefully I'll get this video by tomorrow.
Sounds good, man. Nice talking to you, bro.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Go for it. Yeah, no worries. You have a good rest of your day, man.
All right, you too. Later, bro.
Peace.